Insurance Talk with Scott and Mike on KCMO Talk Radio 710 and now on FM at 103.7. And we're pleased to introduce in studio this morning, we have Dr. Brooks with us. Good morning, Dr. Brooks.
Good morning, Scott.
And also his nurse, Kelly.
Morning, Scott.
I did say it right this time, correct?
Got it, yes.
And Mike, it's been kind of interesting here. A couple months ago, we get a phone call. And Dr. Brooks calls and says, hey, we've got an idea, something we want to do, and would you be willing to help us out? And fortunately, when it came time to making a change in business model plan, you thought, hey, health savings account, maybe the HSA guy might really help your patients understand how this works.
Yeah, Scott, it was interesting. About 2009, I attended a seminar that was talking about a concept called concierge medicine. It was really starting to happen on the coasts quite a bit, but there wasn't much going on here in the Midwest. And a big component of making that work seemed to be this concept of health savings accounts. And I figured out that you were kind of the guru of health savings accounts around here.
What's the license plate? HSA guy, so it kind of gave it away.
Yeah, exactly. So I sought out your advice. I think actually back in 2009 we had breakfast together. And then I kind of got a little scared, a little cold feet, because it's a big jump going from that insurance-based compensation to a direct pay compensation. But this past year, my insurance-based compensation job just really got to a point where I just couldn't stand the whole concept of having to work hard, not being able to spend much time with the patients, and seeing reimbursements drop down to ridiculously low levels, and really just the future looking bleak as far as, insurance reimbursement and government reimbursement coming down even further.
Yeah, they talk about $716 billion worth of cuts to Medicare, and year after year, it's held over your head as a doctor. You're going to be looking at, 21% cut in what is already too little reimbursement from Medicare. And so that year after year, they've come up with the doc fix that kind of temporarily kicks the can down the road a little bit to keep paying you enough to keep seeing Medicare patients for a while. But really, this is the same concern not just you had, but every doctor is facing at this point in time, especially with Obamacare coming in 2014 with the new mandates. Even more controls placed on how you are to practice medicine and how you're going to take care of your patients.
Yeah, that's so true. I run into colleagues in the doctor's lounges at the hospitals, and I've been telling them what I'm doing, and about 90% of them are just fascinated, want to hear more. They're, very interested in somehow to escape this oncoming onslaught of Obamacare.
And yet the fear of change, especially, who was the person in your life that was most concerned about this kind of a change?
Yeah, well, that was my wife. And she's still a bit concerned, but I think she's becoming a little bit more confident as time goes on.
Yeah, and in fact, you face this problem on a continual basis. How can I word this? How can I put this together so an insurance company will actually pay us? Because you don't practice medicine the normal way, if you will. The reason you have such a huge following of patients is because of the time you spend hearing comment after comment from your patients about how well-liked you are and how you practice medicine different. They can't imagine having to go back to another doctor that puts them through like a factory, like a run of cattle through the mill. So they love the time you take and your memory, how you remember every one of their scenarios. You remember their kids' names. And the way you take care of them is a homeopathic. You try to show people the things they can do to stay away from the high-cost procedures. And this is the way medicine was supposed to be. Yet you're trying to fit your system into a reimbursement fee schedule that pays you the same as somebody fresh out of college that spends 7 minutes per patient. And that's wrong. That's inverted. That's wrong that you got paid, in essence, less than what they were getting paid.
Yeah, that's so true. What really is happening is that there's that kind of intrusive arm that is getting more and more controlling of insurance that is basically telling us what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And the concept is now that every person is going to be treated exactly the same. But you and I both know that no two humans are really alike. Even identical twins have their differences.
There's information out there where they've implemented this kind of a strategy where governments with socialized medicine, the government starts dictating how this stuff works. The older you get, the less procedures you're going to be eligible for. They're not going to be willing to pay for things when you get old because, you're not worth as much because you got older? This is really scary stuff that they're telling doctors and hospitals and procedures that won't be available based upon Obamacare come 2014 and beyond. Hey, we got a lot more to talk about. There's a lot of problems out there. We could go on and on for a whole show talking about problems, but we're going to get into your solution right after this break. You're listening to Insurance Talk with Scott and Mike on KCMO Talk Radio 710 and now on FM at 103.7. Listening to Insurance Talk with Scott and Mike on KCMO Talk Radio 710 and now on FM at 103.7, 576-7710. If you'd like to call in, Mike, we're pleased to have back in studio Dr. Douglas Brooks. Welcome, Dr. Brooks.
Thank you, Scott. It's good to be here.
And also his nurse, Kelly. Kelly, welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're not going to have to talk so much this time as you did last
I don't think it was
segment,
very
right?
fair because Kelly didn't really get to say anything that last segment.
But
It's
really,
quite all right.
when it comes time to implementing, explaining all this stuff, Kelly, you need to save your voice on the radio show because you're having to explain this over and over and over again to so many patients out there.
We are, but we're really happy to do it.
Absolutely. In the last segment, Mike, we were talking about the problems, that especially primary care physicians. Dr. Brooks, you've been one of the most popular I've ever heard of, I've ever seen, been part of. You have an amazing number of patients that love you and speak extremely highly of how you practice medicine. And then you're trying to figure out, okay, I've got all these problems coming with the healthcare system. There's got to be a better way. Concierge, when people hear that word, you think of, okay, only my rich patients are going to be able to afford a concierge business model. And that's a way of skimming the very wealthy people, charging them at least $1,500. Some of them literally, some of these concierge doctors are charging $20,000 a year per patient just to have direct access to a doctor. And you're out there thinking there's got to be a way to offer high level of service, high level of care, lots of time for the masses, the Walmart version of concierge, if you will. And you came up with a business model, and we're pleased to be part of it. For our listeners out there, why don't you describe briefly what the process is and what you offer for your patients out there?
Well, we've kind of shied away from calling it concierge medicine just because of that concept that it's just for rich people. So we call it a direct pay model, and basically what we're doing is we're having patients become members. For their membership, they basically are paying for a comprehensive annual exam, and then they pay $2 per minute for their appointment times. And the unique thing that we're doing is they get to choose how long they want their appointment to be. So right up front, they're going to know if they request a 20-minute appointment, it's going to cost them $40.
That's about the same as a typical copay with a health insurance plan.
Yeah, it's really great. And if people aren't members, they're paying $6 a minute. And even then, we feel like they're still getting a pretty good deal.
When you think about it, it's out of network, so you're not accepting any insurance at all, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so now do you provide them with a bill that they could submit to an insurance company to possibly get some kind of reimbursement for out-of-network benefits?
We do offer that super bill with the codes in it, and we've had a few people actually come back and say that they were reimbursed higher than what they paid to see me.
Wow.
So it's kind of an interesting concept. Obviously, that's not going to happen for everyone.
Right. The patients I've been speaking to, I've told them, please do not count on any reimbursement from your insurance company. If you happen to get something great, but probably not, because this is a great value in spite of insurance. And of course, moving to a high deductible health plan that doesn't allow you to have co-pays, that saves premium dollars, that is a perfect match for direct pay physicians.
Yeah, we were surprised actually how many people have already moved to HSAs, even without our urging them to do that, just because it made sense for their families. But we've also talked a lot of people into HSAs just simply because when you do the numbers, it just makes total sense to them, from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, when you look at a health insurance plan and you're overpaying for co-pays that don't even apply to a physician services such as yours, you raise the deductible, eliminate co-pays, save that money in a health savings account. A lot of these employer groups are putting a nice amount of money into that health savings account. Now they can use that money to pay the annual physical fee along with the $2 per minute, and they still have insurance there in case they need testing outside of your office, in case they need a procedure and they need surgery, they need to be hospitalized. That's why they need insurance, not to cover a $40 physician visit.
Another thing, even though the company maybe doesn't put enough money into their HSA, they could have money withheld from their check and added to the HSA and still cover all that. And you're talking about saving taxes, not only state and federal taxes, but FICA taxes on top of that if it's done through a group. Kelly, what have you seen as a success? You've been dealing with it on a person by person, talking to all these people. How's it worked so far for you guys?
It's worked really well. We've been really thrilled with all the response that we've gotten. Within the first 2 weeks of us doing this, we've already had over 500 people sign up.
Wow.
And that number keeps growing day by day.
There's going to get to a point where you're going to be maxed out, though, aren't you?
We are. So our patients that are listening, please make sure that you give us a call and get signed up because we want to keep seeing you.
So is Mrs. Brooks still as anxious about this as she was a few weeks ago?
Well, she still keeps me on that tight line, but we're a lot happier around our house now that we've seen, how responsive the patients have been to this new concept.
Well, you don't fit into the normal healthcare delivery system. There's no doubt about it. You have a huge following. You spend too much time per patient. They pay you the same as someone else. There's obviously a problem out there. And I got to think there's thousands of doctors, maybe tens of thousands of doctors throughout the country that are in a similar scenario, scratching their head, trying to figure out what could the answer be. And in 2 weeks, you got 500 people to sign up. And what is the annual fee, physical fee? Is it $500 per person?
For an individual to sign up with us, it's only $500 a person. And for a
Per
family, yeah, that's per year. For a family of 2 adults and 1 child, it's $1,200. But for any extra additional children, they're only $40. So it's a really great value.
And then $2 a minute on top of that.
Yep. If they come in for a sick visit or medication check, then yeah, it's only $2 a minute when they come in.
And even procedures, I do a lot of procedural things that you can do in an outpatient setting, and we bill those at $2 a minute. So
if someone needs a wart removed.
Yeah, it's basically
$2 a minute.
$2 a minute.
What about stitches?
Yeah,
Same
stitches.
thing.
We do vasectomies.
$2 a minute for
yes.
vasectomy.
Yes. Colposcopies and
don't
circumcisions as
don't
well.
say things that we don't know what they are. The colposcopy. What was that?
What was that?
I can't even pronounce that word.
I don't know how to spell that one. But $2 a minute. And then here's the other thing. Imagine, if you're a doctor out there, imagine being able to incorporate house calls. You're even going to offer your patients house calls. And what's that? That's got to be ridiculously overpriced, isn't it?
Well, not terribly so. The cost to members is $150. And
$150.
Yes.
For a house call.
Yes.
No, within 20 miles of. We need to specify that, correct?
Right.
Because you're not going to drive
to Topeka to see people, but within a reasonable distance, and we've defined that as 20 miles.
So even with over $3 a gallon of gas.
Yeah, that's true. I need to rethink that probably.
That is amazing. So you're going to have more time on your hands to really take the time to practice medicine the way you've always wanted to. The way you've tried to do, even though these physician groups, these hospital groups, they're always urging you on to see more and more patients. Hey, stop spending so much time. You need to run these people through here. There's a next one out there waiting. And so that's what they've been forcing you into. And now you said, I've had enough. It's time to do it. The time is now. And you have over 700 total at this point in time?
Yeah, we're creeping up to that 700 mark pretty
But it did
quickly.
take you 3 weeks to get there, though.
3 weeks, yes.
Yeah, so it does take time.
A little bit.
If you look at the national data on direct care practices, most people say if you can get to 100 patients in a year, you're in pretty good shape. So we really are just overwhelmed with the support that's come from our patients.
I think where your success lies, though, is the explanation. You guys spend a tremendous amount of time explaining your program to people, letting them understand insurance, how you could change your insurance and do this. Because it can be great for a doctor, and that's what we spoke about, how this is good for you.
Absolutely.
But it also has to be good for the person that's coming in and seeing you on that everyday basis. And that's what you were able to do, is make it to the point where it was very affordable and really a good situation for that client that's coming in to see you. I think is the reason you've had the success.
Sure. Dr. Brooks has done a really good job of coming up with this business model, and we've got different memberships that are available. We have a regular membership. We also have an all-inclusive membership that is a tremendous value as well. And we have an out-of-town membership, too.
So explain the all-inclusive real quick, Kelly.
The all-inclusive membership is everything that's included in the regular membership. So it's your comprehensive physical. But instead of paying that $2 a minute when you come in, for an individual, it's just $2,000 a year, and you're done for the rest of the year. You don't ever pay the $2 a minute when you come in. So if you do need a procedure done that we can do in the office, that's already included. You've already paid for it, so you're done for the year. It also includes 24/7 access to Dr. Brooks or myself via a different cell phone number than our normal one. It includes 4 house calls a year, and it includes after-hour visits, too.
For $2,000 a year.
For an individual.
For an individual. So if you do the math on that, and I was trying to calculate this, if you see a doctor see you 60 minutes a month, then it's basically paid for itself right there. That doesn't include all the house calls and all the additional things that are part of that. That is an amazing value.
Absolutely.
Especially for chronic ill people that need to come in and see you on a regular basis, continually be monitored for things. I know you have a huge Lyme's following. People, you're known in the area as one of the few doctors that are doing a great job of diagnosing and truly treating and curing the Lyme's patients out there. And that requires a lot of time.
One of the ways that this is a great value is that a lot of our patients want to stay out of the emergency room and the ER. And being able to get a hold of us to ask us questions or, ease their mind keeps them out of the emergency room and the ER. And that's a huge savings because I know when we go to the emergency room, I leave with a bill of $5,000.
Sure.
And that's just crazy.
And that's just to walk through the emergency room.
Absolutely.
If you actually see a doctor there, it's more than that.
Absolutely.
I've been there and done that.
Yep.
It's been wonderful being part of the process, being able to talk to your patients and putting together the videos and doing the presentation that we put out there on your website. And your website is douglasbrooksmd.com. And that's where you get Kelly explaining all the different packages that are out there, Dr. Brooks explaining what's going on, and then also listen to the presentation that we did for you to help your patients understand this. So walk them through the process of, hey, this really isn't an added cost. If you look at your health insurance plan, there's a great chance you could move to an HSA qualified plan or even some higher deductible, lower premium plan and save enough premium to pay all of your fees, whether you put it through an HSA, which is the best way, or a flexible spending account. There's still different ways to pre-tax all these expenses. And once people started really understanding their insurance, I think your acceptance rate, your take rate is far higher than a national average due to understanding the insurance component. And that's something we can offer the physician out there.
Yeah, it's huge. And, just looking at it from a health standpoint, there's enough data now, looking at these kinds of practices that the hospitalization rates are markedly less than, with usual insurance and physician practices. And, just general health for the patients is much better just because they're getting a lot more attention and they have that ability to access us, 24/7 when they need us.
Well, Dr. Brooks, congratulations on your initial success. It's amazing to be part of it. I'm honored to be able to help you guys. Kelly, thank you so much for being part of this and putting these videos together and really being such an integral part of the business manager and helping all this process be stepped forward and having the courage to break the mold out there.
Well, we really want to thank you, Scott. You have done a tremendous thing for us, and we couldn't have done this without you. You've done a great job of explaining all of this to our patients, and we really couldn't do this without you. So thank you so much for everything you've done for us.
Well, you are extremely welcome. This is exciting because there's such a huge need. With every change will be a new opportunity. I can't help but think there's tens of thousands of doctors that would love to do what you've done. And so it's been an honor to be part of it. Dr. Brooks and Kelly, thank you so much for being part of the show. We got a little bit coming after this break. We did go a bit long. You're listening to Insurance Talk with Scott and Mike on KCMO Talk Radio 710 and Allen FM at 103.7. Good morning, Mike. Welcome back.
Hey, it's good to be back. I tell you, that was really an interesting last two segments. I think that's amazing to see the success of stuff like that. That's entrepreneurship in this country, which is what built the United States of America to what it is today.
Well, doctors out there are going to be faced one of two directions to go, and patients are going to be faced one of two directions. Either accept all the new mandates, all the new controls, and try to abide by all these crazy regulations that are going to be coming your way. Once again, lowering reimbursement fees, having government controlling what you're doing, how you're treating your patients, or you're going to move to a direct pay, concierge type, you taking your practice back under your control, you and your patients deciding how that health savings account is going to be spent, instead of some insurance company bureaucrat, instead of somebody in Washington telling you what you're going to.
When you say that, Scott, what's happening now, you have the insurance companies that are in control of a lot of this stuff, and we're going to add to that the government.
Exactly.
And that's what Obamacare is going to do. We're going to add the government to the insurance companies, and what are we going to have out there? We've already got people in Medicare that doctors don't even want to see new Medicare patients because they don't reimburse them enough money to pay for their time.
And Medicaid pays even less.
And if you've got doctors that's going to, let's say, and there's a lot of doctors, Dr. Brooks is not the first doctor or the last doctor that's going to do this. There's going to be a lot of them. As that happens, Medicare patients are going to be forced into the point of going and seeing people like this. Whether you want to or not, it's going to happen. So maybe you better get out front of this instead of waiting to the back end of it.
Absolutely. DouglasBrooksMD.com is your website, right, Dr. Brooks?
That's correct.
DouglasBrooksMD.com. And Kelly, what's the phone number there in case our listeners want to find out more about what you're doing?
Absolutely. It's 913-850-1108. And we're getting ready to get a new look to our website. Right now it's a blog, but it's got all the information on there. Pretty quickly we'll have our professional website up. So
you're saying the current one is non-professional? Who put that one together?
I did the best with what I had, but
that's what happens when you build it too fast.
That's
You
right.
had too much success. You can't even get your website up
That's
before
right.
you got. Well, that's neat though.
Proof that you don't have to have a professional website to really get this thing up and going already then, huh?
Yes, so please be patient with us, and we are doing the best that we can.
If you'd like to reach our office, if you're a physician wondering these same questions, trying to figure this out, call our office, 913-432-2732. Or you could visit our website, missionhsa.com, and there's a page on myhsablog.com dedicated towards Dr. Brooks. So if you go to directpaydocs, DOCS.com, directpaydocs.com.
DOCS?
DOCS, as in doctors. Directpaydocs.com. You'll see in there some of the information along with the video of the presentation I did with your patients. This has been exciting. I'm really excited about the future of physicians isn't as bleak as what people are thinking out there.
No, I do think there is some hope for those of us who really want to do the right thing, which is treat the patients and not have to deal with insurance companies and government regulations.